What is going on, everyone? Welcome to our Finance Tuesdays. We are on part 7 of the Blueprint to Financial Freedom. We are going based off the book by Jerry Fetta. These are the ideas that I'm getting it from. And if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and buy this book. It's very helpful for your finances and it will put you on the right path. So I should say 2 weeks ago, actually, we talked about taxes and how you can actually take advantage of your tax bill by lowering it and paying less in taxes by one, working a side hustle, to building your own business. And as long as you're pursuing income, you can use that at the end of the year and write off things for your business. So today we're going to be talking about buying a house, because after you've set up a life insurance policy, you put money into it, you're saving 40%, you've paid off all your debt, you're self-financing your car through life insurance. You also have proper insurance. So if something does happen to you, you're covered and you're taking care of your taxes. So after all that's done, the next logical thing to do is just buy a house. Well, the typical thing that the average person does is they get a mortgage, right? And what they do is they put 3% down and hey, I have a house, I have a mortgage payment and an interest payment. And, that's perfectly normal. Well, here's the problem with that. So let's just say your house is worth $300,000. Well, you're going to pay on average 1 to 4% on the housing maintenance every year. It's possible. Why? Think of it like a car. Let's say your car breaks down. What are you going to do? Well, you got to get it fixed, right? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to drive. So you got to get the oil change. That's pretty standard. You got to get your tires fixed. That's standard. And if you have something major go on, well, you got to get that fixed too, right? So think of it that way, where now you have a bigger place to manage, and all of a sudden, if something breaks down, you're paying for it. And if you don't have anything in savings, well, guess what? You're gonna have to borrow, because if you ever try to sell the house, well, the value is going down because you didn't fix the problem. And another thing to think about is if you're doing this on an annual basis, or it's expected every year that you're going to pay between 1 to 4% based on the value of the home, well, then that's going to be a lot of money you're shelling out each year. Not to mention, when you're paying the mortgage, you're only really paying the interest. You're not paying the principal. You're really just paying down the interest. And we'll talk about that in another video. But I just want to bring up the fact, when you get a house, that's the first thing. You're going to pay house maintenance, right? There's going to be some costs involved. The second thing is you don't have any assets yet. What people do is they don't think about, hey, maybe I should have some passive income or some assets that's growing on the side. So if I have an emergency that goes on, I have something that takes place. Let's say you lose your job. Let's say, there's house and stuff that needs to get fixed. Let's just say an emergency just comes out of nowhere that you got to take care of. Well, guess what? You still got to pay for the house, right? That still has to happen. And if you don't have the extra funds to take care of those expenses while you take care of X, Y, and Z, well, you're gonna have to borrow, right? And that's the trap that people fall into. And you don't want to be that person. So how do we fix this issue? How do we deal with, when we buy a house? Obviously, it's a great thing. I'm not against buying a house, but we want to do things properly. So the first thing we want to do is we want to put more down on the house. And we're not going to use the bank to do this. Why? Because yeah, you might put down $20,000, but guess what? You're never going to see that money again. And if you keep in the bank, it's growing at what, 0.1%? So no, we're going to use gold. And you're like, why would I want to use gold? Well, before 1971, our currency was backed by gold, and everything changed. And less people own gold today. There's a survey that said about 88% of Americans do not own gold. And you're probably like, well, why should I? Well, the thing is with gold is it's a store of value, right? It grows at an average of 10% a year. And when you borrow against it, you're paying 2 to 3% on an annual basis on the gold. So why would I want to go this route? One, it's a real asset. It is actually going to grow for me. I'm still going to see it grow. It's going to outpace inflation, because inflation is always going to be around, because the value of the dollar has no value whatsoever. It's just printed money. So if I have another asset and I take that asset and I borrow against it on the down payment of the home, well, I'm going to take the payments and just pay the gold back. I'm going to pay myself back. And that money is still growing, right, at 10%, or an average of 10%, I should say. And then I can now go invest in other things. I can use the gold to go invest in real estate. I can borrow against it. And again, I'm using that. We're not even talking about life insurance. I'm earning 3 to 5% there as well. So I'm not only averaging 3 to 5 annually on my life insurance, but I'm earning at least 10% on average with my gold on an annual basis. So if you think about it, I've got two things growing while I'm managing a house. And if something does happen, I've got reserves in my life insurance policy, I got reserves in my gold, and I'm properly covered, right? And I'm also able to go ahead and invest in more passive income. Because the mistake that people make again is they don't have any passive income, they don't consider having another asset, they just go ahead and buy the house. And what normally happens is they're trapped in a 30-year mortgage and they can't get out of it. So we don't want to be in that position where we just have to keep paying the banks, because guess what they do with our money? They go ahead and invest it in these things like gold, real estate, life insurance. They're actually buying these assets, and we're just, with the consumers, and they're profiting off of us. So I just wanted to share that today with you guys. If you have any questions, make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.